I felt like he wasn't interested in developing more of a deeper, richer, whatever relationship with me, because I felt from the second that Robyn came into the family, his focus was on her. I didn't realize, such a weird and embarrassing thing to admit, but my life was just wrapped up in what Kody needed and what he wanted and what the family needed and wanted. I was probably more fixated on that man than there's so much.
He said he tried to lift everybody up to the level. So
wait, the level of Robyn? Is that what he's saying?
Yeah, the level of communication, the level of...
No, I'm just going to tell you straight up, that's 100% a lie.
They said she'd never leave. They said she'd never speak. But Kody Brown Woolley is about to drop a bombshell that will echo through every corner of Kody's crumbling kingdom. This isn't just a memoir, it's a reckoning, a mother's fight, a woman's voice, finally unmuted, and the man who once silenced her, he's about to pay in every way that matters. She holds the book in her hands like it's both a newborn and a bomb. Its cover simple, polished, disarming, gives nothing away, but everyone knows it's loaded. Kody Woolley, once the third wheel in a collapsing spiritual empire, is no longer asking for the spotlight. She's taking it, and the timing couldn't be more ruthless as the final chapters of the Brown family saga flicker out on screen. She's preparing to light the match that could burn the whole mythology down for over a decade. Viewers watch Kody smile through humiliation. She played the good wife, while Kody made it painfully obvious she was never the chosen one she endured. The cold shoulders, the favoritism, the silence that screamed louder than words. But behind the scenes she was writing, she was watching, she was waiting, and now that wait is over. Her memoir isn't just a retelling, it's a reckoning in interviews. She promises revelations, details she's never shared, stories. The cameras missed truths that were too raw for TLC to air. There's fear beneath the excitement, not from Kody, but from the ones who built their version of the truth on silence. Kody and Robyn have tried to preempt the damage, spinning public sympathy, quietly bracing for the fallout. But they all know Kody's not holding back. This isn't just a book drop, it's the prologue to her revenge tour, where every chapter is a counterpunch to the years. She was erased, diminished, rewritten. The countdown has started. September 2nd is circled in red. Not just for fans, but for everyone who played a part in her eraser. Because once this book hits the shelves, Kody won't just be telling her story. She'll be rewriting the legacy of sister wives, one brutally honest sentence at a time. He always said she was dramatic, that she exaggerated, twisted things, made herself the victim. But when Kody filed for custody, it wasn't out of theatrics, it was survival. What Kody never expected was that she'd actually follow through in September 2024. She did exactly what he used to threaten her not to do. She went to court quietly, legally, without the cameras, and that's where the power began to shift. Kody retaliated immediately, filing his own counterclaim, like a wounded king trying to defend a crumbling castle. But there were no group meetings this time. No family circle where he could monologue for 20 minutes while everyone else sat silent. Just courtrooms, attorneys, and sealed documents, structures he couldn't charm or manipulate. For once, Kody wasn't playing in his arena. She was operating in a system that demanded receipts, not emotion, not guilt, not spiritual hierarchy, just facts. What we didn't see, what TLC couldn't film, was how those quiet court dates upended everything. Kody thought he still controlled paternity, was officially established, a parenting schedule was formalized, and most importantly, the judge ordered Kody to pay child support for a man who once mocked his wives for asking for help, who saw financial control as power. That ruling hit harder than any public fallout ever could. And the most brutal part, it was all done behind closed doors. No speeches, no camera angles, just a single silent ruling that would haunt him every month as the money left his account. Kody didn't yell. She didn't even post about it. She let the law do what she no longer had to. That wasn't just a legal win. It was a message she had stepped off the reality show stage and walked into the real world where Kody's theatrics held no weight, and the truth finally came with consequences. When Kody first heard the judge's decision, he didn't rage. He seethed silently, the kind of anger that simmers behind clenched teeth and fake smiles to the public. He shrugged it off like a mere inconvenience, but behind closed doors it ate at him, because this wasn't just about money. It was about being stripped of control piece by piece by the very woman he once dismissed as too emotional to lead. The irony was thick. For years, Kody wielded finances like a weapon, dangling assistants, manipulating who got what, always reminding the wives who held the purse strings. But now the courts had flipped that power on its head, and what stung the most, Christine wasn't begging, she wasn't pleading, she didn't need him anymore. Not for love, not for shelter, not for survival. She had secured her own footing, and the law had fortified her. What began as child support quickly snowballed into something bigger. For the first time, Kody had to answer for years of parental absence, not with guilt trips or excuses, but with documentation, with actual accountability. And Christine, without uttering a single insult, had built an undeniable case against the man who once claimed to sacrifice everything for his kids. It's easy to control the narrative when you control the edit, but the courtroom isn't TLC. It doesn't care about confessionals or crocodile tears. It sees numbers, dates, missed payments, and emotional neglect, backed by medical bills and testimony. Kody tried to spin it as an attack, but to the judge, it was just a mother doing what the father never did, showing up, and that's the shift Kody never prepared for. He lost control not just of Christine, but of the script he'd spent years writing, and now for the first time, someone else was holding the pen. Robyn felt it first, the tremor in their carefully constructed image. The court order hadn't even settled before whispers started echoing across fan forums and social media threads. People were no longer asking if Kody was a negligent father. They were counting receipts, calculating timelines, posting screenshots, and for the first time, Robyn's tears weren't enough to stop the narrative from turning. She had spent years cultivating an image of unity, devotion, and misunderstood loyalty, but the silence around the child support ruling was deafening. No statements, no defense, just a blurry photo of Kody at an airport looking lost. His posture slumped, his shirt half untucked, like a man who knew the tide had turned. Robyn tried to hold the line. She spoke in circles about grief and respect, but even her voice trembled when pressed about the judge's decision, because deep down, she understood what this meant. The legal system had finally pierced the Brown family's bubble in their world. Everything had been about spiritual hierarchies and whispered promises, but the law wasn't interested in spirit. It was interested in fact. Kody owed money, Kody lost custody, and now Christine was in the spotlight. Not as a rebellious wife, but as a protective mother. The system had sided with Robyn, watched as Christine began to rise, book deal in hand, public support swelling, and for all her quiet smiles and carefully chosen words, Robyn couldn't hide the unease, because Christine's victory wasn't just personal, it was symbolic. It signaled the crumbling of the myth Robyn had helped sustain, that Kody was a good man unfairly burdened, and if that myth died, so did the last thread holding Robyn's narrative together. Suddenly, she wasn't the favored wife, just another woman hitched to a sinking man in a story no longer written by them. Kody thought control was his currency for years. He wielded it like a weapon, dangling approval, twisting loyalties, threatening legal warfare if any wife dared step out of line. But Christine didn't just step out. She walked with her head high straight into a courtroom and left with something Kody never expected: a judge's signature, a child support order, and a public affirmation that his reign was over. He had always mocked the idea that Christine would go legal, told her she wouldn't dare, threatened that if she did, he'd bleed her dry in court. But when she filed those papers back in September 2024, something in him cracked the old tactics: guilt trips, Shame spirals, whispered warnings didn't work anymore. Christine wasn't the same woman who once begged him to come home. She had a new man, a new life, and now legal authority behind her. The control Kody used to hold so tightly had been legally dismantled, itemized into parenting schedules and court-ordered payments. And with that, something terrifying happened. Christine no longer feared him. She didn't have to ask for time with Truly. She didn't need his cooperation or his permission. The system stepped in where his neglect had left a vacuum, and the money that was just the symbol. A symbol that he was no longer above the rules, that his role as a father could no longer be performed in theory. It had to be paid in full. What rattled Kody most wasn't the financial hit. It was the precedent. If Christine could win, who else might follow? Janelle, could the other kids start asking questions too? His kingdom, once propped up by spiritual rhetoric and emotional gaslighting, had been served, its first formal blow delivered not by a wife's tears, but a court's signature. Robyn always believed she was the exception, the chosen one, the favorite, while the other wives slowly unraveled. She clung to Kody like he was both her husband and her survival plan. She watched them leave one by one, still certain that their downfall only secured her throne. But Christine's quiet defiance, sealed by a judge and backed by legal muscle, shook something loose even in Robyn, because for the first time, her position wasn't protected by love. It was exposed by fear behind closed doors. Things weren't harmonious. Kody, now burdened with court orders and legal fees, was no longer the doing partner. Robyn remembered from their early years the man who once whispered devotion now sulked in silence, bitter over his losses, paranoid about Christine's next move. Every time Robyn tried to comfort him, to center herself in the chaos, he recoiled, reminding her with cold detachment that she was not immune to his collapse. The emotional intimacy that once defined their bond had curdled into transactional tension. And then came the whispers, online forums, tabloid blogs. Even Mary's vague remarks in her live sessions. Was Robyn really Kody's rock, or just his last crutch? Her curated image began to chip. The smiling wife in family portraits was now the silent shadow in the background, flinching as Kody spiraled. She knew Christine's book wasn't just a personal memoir. It was a loaded weapon, and she couldn't predict how much of her role in the family's implosion would be exposed. Robyn used to believe that proximity to Kody meant safety, but now every headline, every court filing, every Reddit rumor made one thing brutally clear. The storm was coming for her too, and unlike Christine, she didn't have a new life waiting on the other side, just a shrinking kingdom and a man she could no longer save. The child support order wasn't just a legal win, it was a seismic shift in the power dynamic that had kept Christine trapped for decades. For years, Kody wielded money like a weapon, dangling financial support over the heads of the women he was supposed to care for. He called it providing, but what it really was control. And Christine, she was done playing by those rules when she filed for custody and support. It wasn't just about Truly. It was about reclaiming everything Kody had denied her: autonomy, stability, and the right to say no without fear of punishment. The court's decision didn't just force Kody to pay. It shattered the illusion he had long cultivated that he was the one making sacrifices, that he alone held the moral high ground. But now, with a judge's signature and the weight of state enforcement behind her, Christine held the receipts: his performative fatherhood, the speeches, the guilt trips. The gaslighting meant nothing under legal scrutiny. What mattered now was contribution, not charisma, obligation, not opinion. And while Kody simmered in silence, Christine didn't gloat. She didn't need to. The facts spoke louder than any televised tantrum. She had shown up for her children every single day, without help, without recognition. And now the system had acknowledged it, not just in dollars, but in dignity. Kody, who had once mocked her for daring to demand more, now found himself legally bound to do just that. But here's the twist that cuts deepest. Christine never wanted revenge. She wanted fairness, and it's that quiet, unwavering sense of justice that makes her win so devastating. Because while Kody still throws fits in airport lounges and clings to a reality that no longer exists, Christine is building something stronger than vengeance. She's building freedom, one court order, one chapter one. Unbreakable truth at a time. Kody may have lost the legal battle, but it was the image war he truly couldn't survive for over a decade. He'd spun a public persona of the misunderstood patriarch, overworked, overwhelmed, and constantly betrayed by the very women he claimed to love. But now, with Christine's legal victories and her upcoming memoir looming like a thundercloud, the mask had started to crack, and the man beneath it petty, bitter, transparent. As news of the court order spread, Reddit threads ignited and Facebook groups buzzed, not with shock, but with validation. Viewers who had watched Christine quietly endure years of neglect saw the tides finally turning, and while Kody may have thought sealing the court documents would hide the fallout, the truth has a way of seeping out through body language, broken silence, and public sightings like the one at the Texas airport, where he was seen pacing alone, visibly agitated far from his supposed soulmate. Robyn, no cameras, no control, just a man unraveling in real time. And Robyn, her silence said everything. This was not the unified front they once pretended to be. She'd built her whole identity around being the favored wife, the peacekeeper, the loyal partner. But now, with their empire shrinking and debts rising, her pedestal looked more like a sinking ship. And unlike Christine, Robyn wasn't built for the storm. She didn't know how to survive without Kody's protection, and Kody was quickly becoming the liability no one wanted to be attached to. The backlash wasn't loud, it was relentless. Every time Christine smiled in a photo, every time she posted with David, or truly it chipped away at the story Kody tried to script. And as that narrative collapsed, so did his control, because it turns out the public wasn't on his side. They never really were. Christine's quiet revolution wasn't just personal, it was cultural. For years, sister wives sold the myth of functional polygamy, centering Kody as the noble if flawed leader of a sprawling family. But Christine's legal win and looming memoir signaled something far more seismic: the unmaking of a narrative that had long protected male control under the guise of spiritual unity. Now Christine wasn't just leaving a man, she was dismantling an institution brick by brick, and the ripple effects stretched beyond her women in similar dynamics. Those caught in religious control structures, in financial entanglements masked as divine duty, saw something familiar in her story. Christine had been the one who smiled through the pain, who baked bread while bleeding emotionally. Her defiance was not loud, but it was thorough, and in every woman who watched her walk into court and leave with an order in hand, there was the echo of possibility. What if I did too? This shift terrified Kody, because once Christine stopped playing along, it invited others to question the script they'd been given. Suddenly, Kody wasn't the misunderstood husband, he was the architect of his own demise. And polygamy, once shown as a grand experiment in spiritual collectivism, now looked like a slow erosion of individual agency, with Christine's memoir promising never-before-revealed truths. The facade was crumbling in real time, and the culture that once insulated men like Kody couldn't save him from exposure anymore. This wasn't just Christine's revenge, it was retribution for years of whispered pain, repressed anger, and ignored voices. And that power, the power of one woman stepping fully into her truth, was more dangerous to Kody than any lawsuit, because it didn't just end a marriage, it ignited a movement. Christine's book hasn't even hit shelves yet, but its shadow already looms large, and Kody knows it. Every word she's written is a reckoning. Every chapter is a mirror held up to the empire he tried to control, built on obedience, silence, and his version of truth. But now that narrative is no longer his to shape. For the first time, Christine owns the story, and she's not whispering anymore. She's publishing. What makes this moment so devastating for Kody isn't just the legal blow or even the financial one. It's that Christine has something he never will: public trust. Viewers watched her break quietly for years, always the peacemaker, always trying to hold a shattered family together. And now that she's choosing herself, telling her side, and protecting her child through the courts, people believe her because they saw it. They lived it with her. Her pain was documented, archived, and now it's being weaponized in the form of truth for Kody, whose power always depended on the illusion of control. This is the final unraveling. His tantrums don't land the same. His tears no longer manipulate. Even his loyalists are starting to squirm, because when one woman finds her voice, others start listening to their own. Christine's strength didn't just rewrite her life, it exposed everyone else's complicity. And that's the legacy of this so-called revenge tour. It's not petty, it's not dramatic. It's justice delivered by a woman who was underestimated, gaslit, and dismissed. Christine walked away with more than freedom. She walked away with the receipts. And in doing so, she shattered the myth that kept so many women stuck for so long. The book will drop. The world will read. And for once, Kody Brown won't get the final word. Christine's book won't just expose the truth. It will own it, and the empire Kody built on secrets, silence, and control. It's unraveling one confession at a time. If you're ready to keep digging beneath the surface of sister wives to uncover the stories they never wanted us to hear, then don't just scroll past. Hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and make sure you subscribe.